Top 5 ACC NFL draft prospects, and I was going to pepper these throughout. Actually, this is one I did before the coaching carousel spun last week, and I'll probably have to do a Michigan one here before the end of the week, one would think. But top 5 ACC draft prospects. Number 5, defensive tackle Leonard Taylor out of Miami. I think this is a fit to the Ravens. At where they're going to be towards the end of the draft, they do need. They're not going to need much, but a refresh in their defensive line would be really good. But anybody who needs a defensive tackle who can stop the run, who's athletic, who can get back and get after the passer, this is somebody who can certainly do that. And someone who may not get into the first round, but he's going to be pretty close and may sneak in right there at the end.
How many defensive linemen? I immediately thought about Randy White was 54, but remember he was like a linebacker at one point at Maryland. Have a 50 on them.
That may usually
most
90s.
Of them now have gotten in
or
the 90s,
getting the single digits or something
or whatever.
cool.
That's the first thing I thought about with Taylor.
But Leonard Taylor, kind of an old school dude there for Miami, and one I know that they hate to lose this year, given the fact that it does look like things are pointed up now that Cam Ward's there. You hate to lose your best defensive player as well. Number 4, my son Keon Coleman. Who
I've always
He's
said,
your son. You got some explaining to do.
Yeah. I've been saying. Remember your uncle one day walked up to you and goes, "So you have kids?"
My adopted son, Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
No, I love Keon Coleman. This is a dude who's got an NFL body. He's got NFL jump. He's got NFL speed. He's just a playmaker. He's someone who can step in and kind of, especially if you are – you have it like maybe an established number 1 already. He's going to make everything better for your offense pretty quickly. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, everything you want, and makes ridiculous catches. This is he's the best wide receiver in the ACC this year, talent-wise. I'm sure there might be some statistical guys that maybe go past him, but this is a dude of all dudes.
Yeah, it seems like a wide receiver, maybe just my perspective, but that has become now like the second sexiest spot to watch as far as just electrifying position in the draft and the number of names and, the crowded room there in the first round of top wide receiver prospects. But he's certainly a part of that grouping and, had a really nice year, a really nice follow-up to the year he had prior to leaving East Lansing for Tallahassee, so that was a good investment on FSU's part, obviously. It's a shame it ended the way that it did, which will always be the way you talk about players and that particular Florida State team. But, he gave them what they were wanting and expected and was a huge part of their great run that just didn't end the way that they wanted it to. But, he's a freak show. Yeah, and I remember thinking, like, this is when he signed there, like, this is cool. That'll help some depth there. But, I'd only heard about him, like, kind of tangentially at Michigan State. And then that LSU game, it's like, Yeah.
Garrett knows. He still has nightmares about it.
He's just so big, too. He's not, like, big, like, measurement-wise compared to everybody else. He's just a big receiver, typically. But he just looks so much bigger out there when he's playing. But, he's another kid from Louisiana.
Is he really?
That they just, if you're looking at what state would you go to for certain positions – it's hard to beat Louisiana in wide receivers, I feel like.
Where's Jamar Chase and Jefferson from? I know they played at LSU. I wonder where they were
they're
from.
There.
Okay.
They're from there.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's, maybe California or Texas for your quarterbacks. That's a whole offseason thing. But Louisiana and wide receivers, man, there's something special.
Yeah, and let's not forget they're going to have 2 guys, LSU in the first round, too, this year, in Malik Neighbors and probably Brian Thomas. Brian might fall into the second round, but
iffy.
He's close.
Yeah, they were both born in Louisiana. Okay.
Number 3, Nate Wiggins, quarterback at Clemson. This guy's just dirty in the best way. Tough as nails, Clemson-style defense. And look, feel free to take any pot shot you want at Dabo Swinney, and I'm not going to stop you. But one of the things that I think got lost in the shuffle of Clemson's struggles recently was their defense never fell off. Their defense was still good. It was how they are. Now, maybe that's going to see a drop-off, too, with the way that he approaches talent acquisition. But Nate Wiggins is one of the best players in the entire ACC. Heck, I ranked him above Keon Coleman, for God's sakes, and that was not coincidental. That was for a reason. This dude can play. The rest of the teams in the ACC are thrilled that he is leaving because he will lock on you. He's tough. He's good in the run game. All of that going to be a top 15, 20 pick.
Yeah, I'm not surprised here. He's the top-rated corner by most of the outlets, I guess you would say. And I'm just curious with Clemson about now that things are settling down again. Clearly, there's no Dabo to Alabama threat. Not that there ever really seemed to be, but there's just something until there's a hire made. You don't really know. But is Cade Klubnik going to turn it on this year? That's what I'm kind of waiting to see. But, yeah,
Well,
Clemson will be an interesting story.
DJ left because of Klubnik, right? I mean, wasn't that?
Well, I mean, DJ left because of the offense. Like, he was just stagnant. And Klubnik was there, and they'd kind of moved to that point because they'd hit their ceiling with each other. You know, like, it was just how it was.
Well, have
And
they
we'll
ever
see how
gotten a ceiling with Klubnik? With all due respect, he's a hell of a player
No,
in
they
high
haven't.
school and pretty decent, but they haven't really reached that any kind of a nice ceiling with him.
Well, and look, the guy who's right behind him on this list is kind of the reason why in Keon Coleman, in that, you know, Dabo Swinney has not gone out and gotten those guys. Like, again, nobody's telling you to go get 30 guys out of the transfer portal like Deion Sanders is going to do, Dabo. But
he can do what we've seen Texas do
If you
by
get-
filling roles of players who left who are really good at about 6 or 8 different schools.
Yeah, if you got 7 players out of the portal, like, you would be back where you were. Like, I think that's where it's weird to me. Like, you don't have to go whole school.
You don't need to
See,
do.
I don't think he's anti-portal. I think he's anti the antics and what he would have to do to get the guys that they want out of the portal.
Yeah.
That's how I view it, at least. Because I don't think he's stupid enough to sit there and go like, man, I need a corner, but I want to do it the old way. Like, I think he'd much rather say, yeah, I'll go grab a junior out of the portal and be ready to play. But I just read it as he can't be that stupid to be like anti it all entirely.
But he's just never taken anybody.
I know, but I think he's put off more by the negative parts that we focus on more than the idea of it in general.
yeah.
You
You're
know
right,
what I mean?
but the negative part now is he's being criticized because his
Well,
team
yeah.
had such a standard. And
No,
now,
he didn't handle it well
No,
at all.
no.
He didn't handle it well. But I think if he had to choose, like, yeah, he'd like to go the portal route, but not if he's got to sit there and go bid for bid with Miami and USC and whoever for that same. That's what I think he probably doesn't like too much. I don't think most coaches like that too much. That's why they'd like to be some transparency.
But
that's the market.
But I don't like going to the dentist, but I do it. You know,
Right.
like,
But some
you know,
people
that's-
put it off.
That's where he has to.
Yeah.
That's where he's got cavities now.
No,
and
yeah,
he
you're
didn't,
right.
and he didn't have them before. Number 2.
And he's anti-fill-in.
Yeah. Number 2, Jared Verse at FSU. One of my favorite plays as a fan in history was, and it happened twice, back-to-back games, but the one at the end of the Florida game where Jared Verse threw the left tackle into the quarterback to kind of end any kind of chance Florida would have had to getting back into that game. That is what he can do. His sack numbers were down because everyone was kind of reacting to the fact that he was there. And then if you watch the way that Jared Verse adjusted and adapted that towards the end of the year, this guy's ceiling is really, really high. His arrow is pointed straight up, and he is not easily blockable. He's a plug-and-play defensive end, especially in pass rush situations. This is someone who will help your team win instantly if you get him. He is on an ascendancy. Now, he might fall into the 15 or whatever, but he is someone, especially if you're a good team and draft him at, like, say, 26 or something like that, he's going to help you really, really quickly.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to add to that,
No.
honestly.
Was the biggest play ever, though, the blocked extra point or field goal against LSU? Is that one?
I don't know.
That might have kicked off something. I don't think he was the only one.
That's the first time I'd ever heard of him.
Yeah. That's the
Me
first
too.
time
That was
ever
the
did,
first
too.
game, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
he came
It's the
from
first time you ever wanted to hear from him ever
I
again.
don't want to hear about him again.
You know what? Here's the thing. And this is probably years of a Cowboy fan too. When he came from Albany, and like I'd read on the FSU website, it's like, oh man, this guy's so good. He's from Albany. I'd be like, okay, whatever, dude. You know, like, all right, let's all try to get excited about one positive thing since it's been the
dude's a
desert. And then all of a sudden, like first game out of the box against the best team they were going to play all year, he's like,
Yep.
whap.
He was good.
Yeah, he was really good. And number 1, this should be pretty obvious. Drake Maye for UNC, the quarterback. Probably he's the top 3 pick. So he grades out all metrics really, really well. I think the only knock, and it's not even on Drake Maye, but you know, the last couple of years, just North Carolina faded hard down the stretch, especially this year.
You hear Mac today pumping the NIL that they need to go up to another level, kind of like
Yeah.
Saban did a couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
he wants basketball NIL. That's
Yeah,
what he wants
yeah.
at UNC. But Drake Maye though, going to be one of those dudes who's going to be interesting to see where he lands. I mean, he's not going to get past Washington, you would think, unless the Bears don't trade the pick, don't draft a quarterback, and take somebody like Marvin
Well,
Harrison, number 1 overall.
Washington as the number 2 pick. They're going to either get Maye, who played in their backyard, or Caleb Williams, who's from there. In
or
Washington,
Or
D.C.
Jaden Daniels.
And Jaden Daniels, who, of course, was
You
the
don't think they
Heisman
have to
Trophy.
go quarterback, though? I think with a new coach, you got to do that.
Yeah, I think so.
it's just,
Washington?
yeah, just the timing
And
of
they
it
introduced
all.
a new GM who's got a lot of rave reviews from what he's learned, hopefully, with John Lynch in San Francisco.
The funniest tweet I saw about that was from Craig Hoffman, who we've had on the show before. But Craig said, it was really strange to hear Adam Peters call Josh Harris Josh, in that no one was allowed to call Dan Snyder Dan.
Yeah, it was Mr. Snyder.
Yeah, I know he's probably on a yacht in the Mediterranean right now, not worrying about life too much, and he'll never have to worry about paying a bill.
Smoak the big fatty.
Smoak. I'm glad that he's gone. He can smoke whatever. I'm glad that he smoked his way on out of town, and that he finally got run off because man, that was long overdue. But if he's not a Bear or not a Commander, then you know who's sitting there at 3. It's the New England Patriots, as they change coaches now, and I don't